Hey gamers, if you're looking for some of the best Metroidvania games with solid combat and satisfying parry mechanics, you've come to the right place. In this video, we're going to talk about the top 15 best Metroidvanias with satisfying parry mechanics that you should play, and some of you maybe disagree with the ranking, but that's okay. Everyone has their own taste, and that's exactly what makes discussions like this interesting. Alright then, without further ado, let's get started. Vigil, The Longest Night feels like 2D indie version of Dark Souls, but with pretty solid visuals. Seriously, from the UI to the gameplay loop, it's obvious the game follows the Dark Souls formula. At this point, it doesn't just feel inspired, it's borderline copying it outright. I'm not gonna call this some hidden gem or an underrated masterpiece, but at the same time, it's not just some cheap Souls knockoff either. There's real effort here, even if it doesn't always land. The combat is a mix of everything. It's got that Dark Souls feel, blended with some Metroid elements, and sprinkled with classic action platformer vibes. It's not original, but it's solid enough. The skill tree is decent, weapons are customizable to fit your playstyle, and the exploration is engaging enough to make you want to check every corner of the map. Animations also improved. Attacks feel impactful, enemies have readable patterns, and pulling off dodges or parries actually feels satisfying. Play it on hard, it genuinely feels like a 2D Dark Souls. Challenging, sometimes frustrating, but still addictive. Next, we have Somber Echoes as a Metroidvania with a story that blends horror, sci-fi, and Greek mythology, featuring an interesting narrative about a main character named Adrestia who's trying to stop her sister Harmonia from destroying the universe. The combat system is also pretty damn solid, with upgradable weapons and mechanics like blocking and striking that let players defend and attack in a smart way. Obviously, the reason I put this on the list is because of its interesting mechanics, especially when it comes to its defensive system. Yeah, the block and parry mechanics. In this game, players can use a shield to block and counterattack enemies from the side. This mechanic is really useful when dealing with enemies, since you can block their attacks and hit them back at the right moment. Even though the combat system has a few weaknesses, overall the gameplay is still engaging and challenging. If you know Minoria, this isn't just some spiritual successor to Mamadora Reverie Under the Moonlight, it's actually a legit part of a long-running series. The story follows two warrior nuns trying to save a city from witches, religion, faith, a grim world, but it never really digs deep enough to leave an impact. So yeah, it's fine, but forgettable. Now the biggest change here is the visuals. Minoria drops the series' iconic pixel art and goes full 3D, and honestly, that's gonna be hit or miss depending on your taste. Gameplay's still a Metroidvania, but with a heavy focus on parrying, and yeah, that's the core of everything. Once you get used to it, combat actually feels pretty damn smooth. The bosses are where things get interesting. It's not just about fighting giant monsters, the real highlights are those one-on-one duels against the witch enemies. That's when the game actually wakes up. You'll need everything, roll dodges, parries, and even that little incense heal just to stay alive. Before we go into the list, I want to tell you about my favorite place to buy games, and that's Instant Gaming. Instant Gaming is an awesome site for grabbing games at great prices. Not only they always have fantastic discounts, but also they running giveaways you won't want to miss. Seriously, these deals are hard to beat. Where else are you gonna find prices this good? Why pay full price when you can grab the same game for way less, right? Yeah, you can shop for games on all kinds of platforms, like PC, PS5, Xbox, and a Nintendo Switch. There are also numerous convenient products to enhance your gaming experience, such as subscriptions, gift cards, and many more. No worries, it's 100% legit, fast, and super easy to use, and their support team is available 24/7. So what are you waiting for? Go check out your favorite games by using the link in the description below and start saving your cash with Instant Gaming. And by using my link, you're not just getting awesome deals, but also supporting this channel. Alright then, let's get back into the list. The Devil Within Satgat is a Metroidvania Souls-like, where you go around cleaning demons out of the Black Tower. Honestly, it gives off more of a Devil May Cry vibe, which probably explains why the title sounds kind of similar, right? The combat is fast. Katana plus shotgun combo, stamina-based dodging and parrying that can make you feel like a pro or just mad. Those bosses, they're tough but not brutal. The difficulty curve feels fine for veterans, while newbies might choke on the parry timing at first. Satgat is clearly ambitious with tough gameplay, wide exploration, and a story that feels like it wants more depth but doesn't fully get there. If you enjoy a challenge and actually have some patience, this game fits. But if you're not used to Metroidvania Souls-like, this might feel way too much to handle. Next up, a Metroidvania with a parry mechanic that I actually enjoyed, Afterimage. This game is easily one of the most beautiful Metroidvanias I've played. The story takes place in a world where humanity is basically wiped out and the remaining settlements are getting wrecked by dark forces. You play as Renee, a young girl who survived one of those attacks, on a journey to find her missing mentor. The gameplay, that's where it really hooks you, and yeah, the parry system makes everything way more fun. Pulling off a well-timed counter just feels good. But let's be real, this is a classic Metroidvania, so early on you're weak as hell. You can barely do anything besides basic jumps and attacks. Everything else, locked behind abilities you have to find. That said, the progression feels solid. Every enemy you take down makes you stronger. You level up, earn skill points, upgrade your skill tree, weapons, and gear. The Afterimage system also adds build variety, so you can actually play the way you want instead of being stuck with one style. Solateria is an action platformer with a Metroidvania Souls-like. You've got a broken dying world vibe straight out of something like Hollow Knight. You've got tight punishing parry-based combat clearly in the same lane as Nine Souls, and then there's the more modern stylish presentation that feels similar to Mio, Memories in Orbit. In it you play as Tot, a blue-flamed warrior with a little Piran head. The story's about trying to save your king while a plague messes things up. What you should know going into Solateria, it's hard. Even if you tweak the sliders, it stays tough. It's all parry-centered with massive bosses and crazy enemy types. Parrying gets trickier because enemies attack with big hitboxes and you're dashing through them constantly. If they flip while you're moving and hit your back, your party won't work. But overall, it's incredibly charming despite steep difficulty, making Souls-like Metroidvania fans do well adding it. Salt and Sanctuary is basically Dark Souls in 2D. Everyone says that. In this game, you play as your own created character, just some poor shipwreck survivor who washes up on a messed up island that clearly doesn't welcome anyone with a pulse. Your identity? Honestly, it barely matters. The world is built to feel cold and mysterious on purpose. You're not some chosen one everyone worships. You're just an unlucky person who happened to stay alive a little longer than the rest. And there's no difficulty setting. Progress determines everything. Most bosses aren't super insane either, but hey, that's not saying much. The knockback in this game is seriously annoying, and it gets worse. There are moments where you fall, get swarmed, and just get beaten down without even having a chance to stand back up. It's the kind of thing that makes you want to complain out loud, but somehow you keep playing anyway. Death's Gambit. Afterlife is basically the upgraded version of Death's Gambit, packed with a ton of new content, gameplay overhauls, and yeah, the most annoying but awesome part, it's free if you already own the PC version. Of course, the game is still a 2D side-scrolling mix of Souls-like and Metroidvania. You've seen this formula plenty of times before. Enemies drop shards, you use them to level up, and the combat is classic. Don't get greedy, manage your stamina, or you die like an idiot. Healing works similar to Dark Souls, limited uses, but it refills when you rest. And the biggest thing you'll notice? Afterlife actually fixes the stiff combat from before. Now it's more responsive, smoother, and just feels better overall. A well-timed parry gives you a brutal counterattack, and that awkward kick move is gone, replaced with a slick slide that's actually useful. Basically, you no longer feel like you're dragging around a half-dead character. Boss fights didn't get ignored either. A lot of them have been rebalanced. Not completely different, but enough to force you to rethink your strategy. Honestly, just play it yourself and see. In the world of Souls-like games, there's one title trying really hard to act like a loyal witness to the legend of Bloodborne. Its name is The Last Faith. This game shows up with big promises, Bloodborne-style vibes, Metroidvania structure, and that classic Souls-like spirit. The combat's solid. You've got multiple builds and a wide range of weapons to mess around with. There's no standard block or parry system either. Everything revolves around this thing called Stigma. With it, you can parry, heal, or even boost your attack speed. And once you find a build that actually clicks with you, enemies that used to annoy the hell out of you suddenly turn into punching bags. Especially if you can land your parries perfectly. Honestly, The Last Faith is a great fit if you're into Metroidvania games with a Souls-like edge. And yeah, don't skip the DLC either. It unlocks extra features like New Game Plus, a dungeon mode, boss rush, and the Tower of Despair survival mode. That makes the game even more exciting. You know, Blasphemous 2 isn't just a sequel. This thing basically says, oh, you thought the first game was weird? Here, let me crank that up. Yeah? The story picks up right after the previous DLC, but that's not even the main hook. The real pull is how the world gets even more artistically unhinged. What makes it more interesting now is you're not stuck with just one weapon anymore. You've got three: a classic sword, a spiked ball and chain that feels heavy as human sin, and a dagger plus fencing sword combo that's slick but deadly. And yeah, you can swap between them instantly in the middle of a fight. Combat here is faster and smoother. The penitent one isn't stiff like before. He can dash, wall jump, and move way more fluidly. Parrying is more responsive too, but don't get cocky. The timing still demands precision. Sometimes you play it clean, sometimes you bail out like a coward, and honestly, that's totally fine. Kotama Academy Citadel is an anime-style Metroidvania where you play as Kotama in a futuristic academy with one goal: become the top student, the Carmel Star. At first, I had no clue what this game was even trying to be, but once you actually play it, yeah, it hits. The gameplay is seriously fun. It instantly reminded me of Blasphemous 2, especially with how you can use multiple weapons and switch between them on the fly during combat. There is a parry system here, so if you're actually good at using it, I don't think you'll die in this game, because there's a weapon that lets you parry and block from all directions. So if you've got the skill, you're absolutely going to abuse that opening and turn it into your biggest advantage. And honestly, the best part for me is the boss fights. You actually have to pay attention and respect their attack patterns, because the damage they deal hurts a lot. But hey, if you think the game is too easy, just crank up the difficulty. That's what I did, played it on hard mode, though yeah, that's more for people who actually want a challenge. If you've played Grime and now there's a sequel, Grime 2, then yeah, it's bigger, more ambitious, and way more serious about what it's trying to do. And let me tell you straight, in the first game, some builds clearly felt more dominant. You kinda got pushed into certain play styles, whether you liked it or not. But in Grime 2, it's way more open. There's a ton of weapons and none of them feel useless. You can run weird experimental builds and they'll still work. That makes the gameplay feel a lot more flexible and way less boring. The combat flow also feels more rhythmic now. Parry is still here, but it's not just an option anymore. It's the core. If your timing is on point, you'll look like a god out there. If it's not, yeah, you're gonna get wrecked over and over. And in Grime 2, you're not just absorbing enemies for style points anymore. Absorb Mold is now part of the combat flow. You can chain it directly into abilities, and it actually hits hard in fights. Also, there's a difficulty option now, so if you're not that good yet, just pick the easier setting. No shame in that. Metroid Samus Returns is both a remake and a reboot of Metroid 2 Return of Samus. If you're into Metroidvania games, you're honestly not legit if you never played this back in its time. Visually, yeah, the 3D actually starts to look pretty damn cool. Movement feels way better, aiming is more precise, you can turn mid-air, and the dash makes traversal fast and smooth. Now the most controversial part, the counter system. It's a new move that lets you cancel enemy attacks. But early in the game, it actually slows things down because you have to stop to pull it off. It kinda messes with the pace. Thankfully, later on you get stronger and don't have to rely on it as much against regular enemies. But in boss fights, that's where it shines. Countering can be the difference between living and getting wrecked, and some bosses are basically designed like puzzles. You dodge, wait for the opening, then strike, and yeah, landing those parry counters feels insanely satisfying. In Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown, parry isn't some extra mechanic you can ignore. You can try to play by just dodging and attacking, sure, but if you don't understand how parry works, the game will feel way more annoying than it should. That's because the game has an Athra system, a resource used to unleash skills. Normally, you build it by attacking enemies, but if you land a well-timed parry, your Athra bar fills up way faster. So yeah, parry isn't just defensive, it's also how you boost your offense. And for your information, not every attack can be parried, and the game makes that pretty clear. Normal attacks like no glow, the most common ones. You have to read enemy animations. Even arrows can be deflected if your timing is right. The yellow glow, this is your golden moment. A successful parry triggers an execution. Small enemies get deleted, bosses take heavy damage. And red glow, don't act tough. You can't parry these, just dodge or get out of the way. So yeah, parrying here is very much high risk, high reward, and honestly, Ubisoft did a solid job making this Metroidvania feel tight and rewarding when you actually learn its rhythm. Nine Souls isn't just some chill 2D action game you can casually play while relaxing. It forces you to stay focused, to actually learn its systems, and if you don't, you're going to get punished over and over until it clicks. It mixes a cyberpunk world, a revenge-driven story, and combat inspired by Sekiro, all wrapped in a sharp hand-drawn visual style. The story follows Yi, a warrior who gets betrayed by the rulers known as the Nine Souls in the world of New Kunlun. But don't expect a simple revenge plot, and in here, parrying isn't just an extra mechanic, it's the backbone of everything. You have to understand when to block, when to attack, and when to back off. One wrong timing and you get heavily punished. Boss fights are where the game really defines itself. That's where Nine Souls fully shows what it's about. Miss a timing window and you'll get punished hard. But once you understand the rhythm, the combat turns into something extremely clean, precise, and genuinely satisfying. Hollow Knight and Hollow Knight Silksong land in the honorable mention spot on this list. Why? Because technically, they don't even have a dedicated parry button. But hold up, if you've actually played them, you already know you've probably pulled off a parry without even realizing it. Yep, when you swing your nail at the exact same time an enemy attacks, the hits can clash and cancel out. That's basically a parry, and once you start recognizing enemy attack rhythms, it suddenly becomes way more fun to pull off. It low-key feels like playing Sekiro but in 2D form. That said, it's hard, like really hard to do consistently. It's not something you can rely on, which is why it only makes it into the honorable mention category. That's just my take though. What about you? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And that's it for today. Those were lists the top 15 best Metroidvanias with satisfying parry mechanics that you should play. Got a hidden gem I didn't mention? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video or discovered a new title to add to your collection, feel free to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you'll never miss future content. Once again, if you want to buy games with cheap price, the link in the description, okay? So thank you for watching and see you in the next video.